What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. It's good to have you here. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure to do that down below. And let's get started with today's episode. So in today's video, I want to talk about 3 different ways that a person can make a lot of money in this market. In this market, here we're talking about the sports card industry. The first one is pretty simple. You predict the market trend before the trend actually happens. So this requires a little bit of detail. So what I mean by that is essentially you see a demand for something, for example, before the general mass knows about it. And this could be a series of deduction, a series of research that gets you to this point where it convinces you enough that there will be a market trend of a new desirability or a new market demand in certain types of cards or certain player, things like that, before the general public knows about it. And of course here, guys, something to note is you advertising and telling other people that buying Steph Curry card right now is a good buy is not predicting the market. Everyone knows that. And so that's you just kind of informing everybody what they already kind of know and have a hunch about. So an example of making money this way, where you're making a prediction, an educated guess on what is going to happen in the future with a specific card or a set or a player, is the soccer card boom that we saw late 2020. Someone somewhere out there, a few people I imagine, have been a decent follower of soccer and saw the rise of basketball cards and baseball cards in the beginnings and mid of 2020 and thought to themselves, for very, very good reasons, why soccer was suppressed in their card value, and went up and bought all the Mbappe rookie cards for $4, $5 each on eBay. So, that is just a great example of someone thinking ahead of the market while maybe 60-70% of the market is focused on basketball, on baseball and whatnot. They saw an opportunity where there may be future demand of soccer in the future, so they went ahead and invested before the mass and predicted the market. They won and they got paid out real big for that prediction. So moving on to the second way to make a buttload of money in this industry is you control the pop, you control the market. And there are many different examples of this, and I won't go too much into detail. If you have read Sports Cards Are Cool Again by Josh Luber, I'll leave the link down below. You get a few examples of this, but definitely this market historically has been controlled. It is currently being controlled to some degree, in my opinion, and this is not some shocking news. If you haven't followed the stock market or the real estate market, everything in a sense is controlled to some degree. Anyways, the second way to make a buttload of money in this industry is having a control over the market. And what I mean by that is, let's say there are 5 known cards of Pele, and you have all 5 of them. Something like that. Or maybe there are 5 Lewis Hamilton red variation cards out there. It's out of 5 and you have 3 of them. Essentially, you and the other person who has the other 2, maybe it's 1 person or 2 people in that example, can kind of get together and say, hey, don't sell yours for above this price. Or they may not even have to discuss the matter, but because they're just such scarce cards, even if you bought it for, let's say, 50K, at some point you can call a price that's a digit higher, so 500K, and it could be deemed legitimate. And all you actually really need is put 2 really affluent people in a room and essentially have a private auction on the card who really want the card. So even if the card that you bought this year is 50K, maybe 2 years later you're sitting in a room with 2 people who really want this card could potentially 10x and go to $500,000 value. So that's just an example, a card that is a huge chase in the F1 community and F1 collectors. And it's just an example of how you can make a buttload of money with these rare, low pop, very scarce type of card. The third, maybe not the most obvious way to make money in this industry is to create a demand, create a market for something. And this we've seen all too many times, I'm sure. Some influencers or micro influencers, you see them do this a lot, where they try to encourage their community and their group of friends and circles of collectors to go buy something that they are heavily invested in. For example, if a influencer comes out and tells you to go buy Lonzo Ball and just stresses that fact, it's pretty clear and obvious what the person is trying to do is to raise the general market price by creating a artificial or sort of temporary spike in demand, get the prices up, potentially pump the price and then dump the card. I don't know about the dump the card, but definitely pumping up the price to a new price point is the goal of that kind of action. And another example of creating demand, and this is maybe borderline controlling the market as well. Something that I saw early 2021, so this year, when we saw the rise of 2003 LeBron James top scorer in PSA 10 going from 5K to 9K to 14K to maybe 20, 30K maybe or so, maybe even more. At that point, when I saw that rise, there weren't that many initially 2003 top scoring boxes, sealed boxes being on sale, and most there were 3 to 4. So what you saw was one would get bought at 10K, for example, and then the next listing would be for 11K, just because there's that understanding that a card in that box is increasing in price, and so the next box would be priced at 11, and then the next would be at 12, etc. So what you would do at that point, and this is possible if you have a lot of money, obviously, whether it's your money or venture capitalist money or funding, whatever it may be, you just go out and buy all 5 that popped up on eBay. And eBay is the most public place of measuring comps and what the last sold was, when was the last box sold, etc. So you just go buy out all 5, and essentially now you can claim those boxes that you've bought, let's say an average of 12K each. You can claim to sell them at 30K each, and you've essentially created a market of your own. And then whatever other boxes that come out on the market, you just go grab them. Then you've essentially created a floor by doing so. So those are some creative ways to make a buttload of money in this market. But you guys have to understand that when you are just riding a market that is, in general, on average, very successful, you're not necessarily making more money than the average public, average person. So these examples I just gave you, 3 different ways, really is about people who make a crap ton of return, definitely over 10, 100x, in their investment is what I'm referring to. But definitely if you're just riding the market, for example, if I go buy a Steph Curry card right now, I'm riding the market because everybody else is. I mean, in general, I wouldn't advise you to go buy Steph Curry card right now because it's absolutely insane, through the roof. Know that when you are riding a market, when you are doing the same exact thing as somebody sitting next to you, or the next person you see at a show, or the next scroll you go through on Instagram, you're not necessarily thinking any different than the market. You are not creating the market, you're not controlling the market, you're not ahead of the market, but you are just the market. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it insightful. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.
That was awesome.